now I like sit back all the time and I'm like, are you telling me, like, if you were to tell me at 10 years old I can make dragons for a living, you know what I mean? Like I was playing Skyrim and
Yeah.
watching Aragon and living and breathing Lord of the Rings. Like, so this has been the perfect job for me. And I only wish and I only want to encourage anyone who is like me to take that leap because if you're a nerd, there other people are like you. I built a bird feeder in a children's program, but because the videos got reached an audience, it sells.
Right.
You know, so it's like there's a lot of people that can create designs, but less people that can make quality content around their products, and that would be really important. That is the most important thing I would say when doing this is having a good marketing foundation and building your following, and the products will come.
Stories that shape our towns, leaders, builders, dreamers, changing lives around. It's Hometown Impact, hosted by Tyler Goon. Big hearts, bright ground, right here, homegrown power. Every voice, every sound, one spark can wake the whole hour. Stories that shape our towns, leaders, builders, dreamers, changing lives around. It's Hometown Impact, hosted by Tyler Goon.
This is Christian Lowe, also known as CraftyKid3D.
Thank you.
And tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I used to be a teacher, and now I'm a full-time 3D designer, 3D print enthusiast, and I've created an entire community of people that like to 3D print my designs. And so that's where I am now, not teaching anymore, which is bittersweet. We can go into that, but yeah, full-time 3D designer essentially.
Thanks. So how did you actually get into 3D printing?
That's a great question. Pure curiosity, and that's kind of been my thing. It's where I just like whatever I'm curious about, I'm going to go for. And so COVID happened, and uh, if you were a teacher during COVID, you pretty much just got told to go home and check on your kids via the phone. And so I pretty much just got really bored. I was about to have my first son, so we're not doing much. We're not going out, especially it's COVID. So I saw someone online post a video using a 3D printer. I looked up 3D printer, and it was like 250 bucks, 300 bucks. Now back then, these were like primitive machines. You kind of had to be a little crazy to like buy one and touch one because they're a bit technical. It was definitely still an emerging technology. Now it's fully arrived. Like we had the iPhone moment, and now they're everywhere. But so I got one, and I started tinkering with it, and just started having fun. It was out of like just pure fun, no expectations. Just wanted to see what I could make of other people's, and then I just slowly, gradually. The timeline for most people who start this is you make other people's designs. You think about, can I make my own design? You start doing your own stuff. And then if you're into video, naturally, you're probably going to want to film and make little videos of what you're doing. And that's what I was into. So I started doing that. TikTok was blowing up. So I started posting on TikTok. And it was just a big snowball effect that led me here.
Nice. What was your first like social media platform that really took off?
It was definitely TikTok. And the thing with TikTok now is it's a lot harder to actually grow. It's easier for me to grow like on YouTube and Instagram, but TikTok was where I was, and it's where like the whole internet seemed to be there, and there was less competition, not that many people doing 3D printing. And so my first few videos were literally getting hundreds of thousands of views, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like it was amazing. I wasn't getting paid necessarily. I wasn't a part of like any creator fund, but I was just having a lot of fun with it and meeting new people, joining different communities, kind of being a part of this 3D printing community I didn't know existed before I even got my 3D printer. And so TikTok was definitely the one that put me onto wondering if this could turn into something else.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. So what was your first 3D printer?
My first 3D printer was an Ender 3
Okay.
from Creality, and these were like the baseline. Everyone would tell you to get this printer, and looking back now, just being 5 years ago, it was like such a primitive tool. It was like always breaking down. But that is, what a lot of people are missing now with 3D printing is it's so easy. that they don't even know the parts of their 3D printer. Just like with your phone now, you couldn't take it apart and tell, what every little chip it does. Um, that's how it is with 3D printing now. Back then, I knew you had to dissect these things all the time to fix them, and you had to enjoy that, and that was part of the fun. But yeah, it was the Ender 3, and it was an interesting machine.
I don't remember what year it was, but when I first got in contact with you, I had just gotten a 3D printer, and I went Bamboo Labs, and mainly because I'm not really a tinkerer kind of person. Like, I want to be able to make stuff. I like making the models and printing stuff. I didn't want to have to like troubleshoot a lot. And I realized very quickly that even with the bamboo stuff, I broke a lot of things right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Just for dumb mistakes.
Yeah. And that's like anyone who thinks about getting into 3D printing, you have to know, no matter what machine, it's a manufacturing machine that's going to require maintenance, and things are going to break and go wrong. And luckily, I mean, Bamboo Lab wasn't even around when I first started. No one knew who they were. And so tinkering was a part of it. Like it was a tinkering community. And everything was open source. So there's companies making, you could buy nozzles from 17 different companies, hot ends from a bunch of companies. Now it's gotten a little bit more specific to each machine. And Bamboo Labs definitely, when they came out, that was definitely like the iPhone moment.
Yeah,
I would say, where it's like it kind of took us from being an emerging, like late stage emerging technology to my 50-year-old aunt now has a Bamboo Lab machine and loves making planters. And it's like, wow, okay, we've come a long way from people gawking and gooing at what I was doing and thinking I'm a wizard to, anyway, grab one now.
That's so true. So what does a day in the life look like for you?
Oh my gosh. So like I said, I quit teaching. I used to be a teacher, and so my days look a lot different now because my wife used to be a teacher too, and now she's home.
Nice.
So we're both home every day. I have a shop at my house on my property now, and that it came from nothing, and we had to put drywall and insulation, and so I spent the last 3 years really building that shop out, and now I'm there. Every day I work as much as I want to, and I usually end up working a lot because I love doing this. But when I'm burnt out, I can take breaks. I have a 4 and 2-year-old, and so my 4-year-old's going to preschool part-time, and it's definitely I'm on family time right now. So it's dad time 80% of the time, and then I'm working really hard and with a lot of power hours with that other time. And that's like something I really realized early on was like time is the new currency for me. I didn't really care about money as much. When I had my first son, and as a teacher, you get all these paternity days as a dad to take off, and you have up to 6 months essentially, but you have to pay the sub out if you want to take all your days. You only get like these certain sick days, and then once those are gone, you can stay home, but you have to pay for the sub. And so I'm like, well, what's the sub rate? Well, it just went up from $120 to 200 and something dollars. I'm like, okay, well, what if I just started, like 3D printing and seeing if I can design something and sell it? And that's pretty much how it happened, where I just going into my first model. One of my first models was, during COVID, I just had my son, and I didn't know how big the bird community was. And I am not necessarily a bird guy, but during COVID, when you're home all day and just chilling in your backyard, not going anywhere, you start to notice things like the birds. And I remember, there's like these beautiful songbirds all over this backyard of this rental I was living at. We had just sold our house. We were kind of looking for a new one. It was an interesting time. We were just kind of in the in-between, and just had our first son in this rental house. And I'm just noticing the birds everywhere. And I thought, it'd be really cool if I can get like my little Blink camera or my mom's Ring camera. She's got the Ring, and slot it into a bird feeder, and have every time a bird lands on this feeder, it goes off, so I can like sit in my house and watch the birds. Well, I designed this thing in a children's program called Tinkercad, and that's a little offensive. If you design in Tinkercad, no shame. I still do sometimes as well. Like it's a great tool. It's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I designed this little bird feeder that can do that. I ended up doing a Blink camera, a Ring camera, and the Wise cameras. Those were like the main ones at the time. And posted on TikTok videos of the whole process, like version 1, version 2, all my R&D that I was doing with it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, eventually got to a point where it worked and worked really well. And, the video gets 500,000 views and everyone wants one, and so that was where it sort of started, where put an Etsy shop up and I'm just selling bird feeders that can hold a camera, something I never thought I would do, but it was like the birth of a business. And so, I'm home with my son, and that was the first taste of like, wow, this is what it would be like running a print farm, um, making content, doing that, which was such a shift from what I was doing as a teacher
Yeah.
day to day. And so now I've essentially taken that idea and rather than doing a print farm, like nowadays, fast forward, we're just creating new models. Because I slowly found that was actually my passion, was not necessarily running a print farm and hitting print over and over again on a bird feeder, but inventing. Like that's where it started, was just coming out with new products and different ideas and trying to be innovative. And now I've just gotten to a point where I'm able to do that full time. And so, with anyone who's in the creative field, like creativity can hit you like a train, and you got to work 5 days, 12 hours a day just to get it out of your system and hyper focus on something. And then you can get burnt out and take your time. And that's been the best thing about being like an entrepreneur or business owner full time and not having huge overhead and people, like a workplace and a brick and mortar building, is, you can just be yourself, be your creative self, tune into like what, how you're feeling, and monitor that and nurture that so that, you can work every day without getting burnt out. But those days where it's like your son's T-ball, you're not going to miss a thing. And that, it's hard to talk about because I feel bad for some, for people.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of parents that hardly ever see their kids. And I was like, I got to a point where I just had all these little skills that I had built up along the way, where I was like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how I can be home or at least buy more time until they're in school. And so that was the whole goal. It's just like, how can I buy time until they're in school that I can be here as often as possible? And then it turned out better than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
And that's got to be my mindset going forward with everything now, is rather than being like, what could go wrong? It's now, how right could this go?
Right.
And that, once you make that shift mentally, and it's easier once you've proved it to yourself that it's possible, because then it's, the sky's the limit and you can just do that mindset over and over again. And you're not going to question yourself. You question yourself less as the more and more you succeed and finish a project and it works out well. And so I'm just trying to live in that mindset now with everything I'm doing.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about having something that doesn't have a lot of overhead. It's like you're not trying to fight and claw to make, payroll or whatever else. Like, I look at people who are opening restaurants and doing things like that, and that's their passion, and I love that for them. I could never see myself, spending $1 million to open something like that and then have to try to recoup all of that back.
Yeah.
I think the growing organically is really, I don't know, has worked out for me and worked out for you, obviously. So that's awesome. Now, when you did your bird feeder model, were you were selling physical models on Etsy?
Yeah, I just, people wanted it then, they wanted it right now. And that's what happens when a video goes viral. And I wasn't prepared with an Etsy shop or anything. So Etsy was the easiest route, where I can just like, throw this up, throw a link out there and people could buy it. And, nowadays it's like, if I were to come out with a big product, I would be more strategic, maybe have a Shopify store, all of that. But yeah, the Etsy was how it happened. And then I tested the market on Etsy as well, of like selling the digital file. And people started buying the digital file for $5, $6, or whatever it was. And, I started looking at the bird feeders I was selling for $30. Printing it took like $5. Shipping it took $6.
Right.
All of the time and everything. And I'm like, I could just sit back and, it was like the digital file thing's really interesting to me, because I'm still selling that file to this day and I don't have to think about it, ship anything.
Right.
And so, it's my mindset started to shift after I, just got in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of my other questions, is how do you go from, okay, I want to make the physical products to, I want to do, like, I've already made the file and now I can just sell the file to people and they can print it on their own. And actually it fulfills their creative juices to be able to like print their own stuff. They can make it whatever colors they want. They can, it gives them an outlet as well.
Yeah. I would say like there's a formula to starting a 3D printing business like mine to this day, where you're doing design, you're forward facing with design, and you're not necessarily running a print farm. Maybe you're running a small print farm with select models.
Sure.
But it's a total shift from print farm to what I'm doing, because what I'm doing now is people subscribe for a price and they get the commercial license to now sell prints of the models I'm providing. So all I worry about is coming out with models that people are going to love and that are going to sell well. Like that's what I'm trying to think of. Now there's a lot of people that do the same kind of business as me, and they're not necessarily thinking about what's going to sell well for people. They're just creating art that they love. I try to be a little bit more strategic in that, if these people are going to stay subscribed, it's because they're making money.
Right.
And I want people to make money. And so I want to be that helpful force and that person that has been there with the print farm. There's a lot of designers that never had a print farm, and they don't know the pain and struggle of somebody who doesn't have the skills or creative energy to put towards creating their own models, just wants to subscribe to someone they love and print and sell their stuff. And so I've been there. I've done that. And so I have that connection with a lot of my members who are, in the thick of having a print farm. But really, I just love, I love creating designs a lot more. And so the formula really is what I would tell people who are getting into it today. Just have fun. Get a 3D printer and just have fun. Look for files online, learn your 3D printer, learn how it works on the computer with the slicing software and all of that. Just learn and have fun, be curious. And then start to look for problems around you. Look for if there's a pot that isn't working out or you think could be made better. If there's a hanger thing, right? If there's a dice tower, if you're into gaming, a headphone holder, there's whatever your passion is, look for ways something can be improved in that passion and then try and design something. There's so many YouTube tutorials. You don't need a course. There's so much resources out there for designing something of your own. And there's everything from really advanced programs like Blender to child programs like Tinkercad. And you can make something in any of these, you could start small. So start playing around with your own designs. Next is, and this is going to take a specific kind of person to put themselves out there, but start posting videos. Like we all are carrying around 4K cameras in our pocket. And it's never been a time where it's been like that, where it's like everyone's got a good camera. And if you don't know how to edit videos, literally there's AI video editors that can do an okay job. But learn how to edit too, and just start filming stuff for fun. Don't film because you want to sell something. Film, like literally take your phone and start filming your family vacation. Then practice editing. So just get into a rhythm of taking videos and editing and posting. And so start building up your following. So that's what I always tell people is just get a printer and get used to doing videos, because I think what a lot of people don't realize now in business is marketing is sort of the hardest part now, where coming up with the product isn't as difficult, or I don't want to say as important, I don't want to ruffle feathers, as the marketing. I see a lot of amazing designers with good designs that don't know how to do video and build a following and community. And so their stuff doesn't sell. So it's not necessarily the product. Like I built a bird feeder in a children's program, but because the videos reached an audience, it sells.
Right.
So it's like there's a lot of people that can create designs, but less people that can make quality content around their products. And that would be really important. That is the most important thing, I would say, when doing this, is having a good marketing foundation and building your following, and the products will come. They'll tell you what they want. Your community will.
Right.
And then you can follow their lead and then just focus on making videos that reach an audience, and then go from there. You want to print farm? Do you want to start, creating your own models? Maybe you want to hire a designer, and go from there, because that's the formula. But people get too caught up and they want it all right now. They want a product that sells. They want a huge job. And it's like, this started for me because, and why I call myself CraftyKid3D, as I thought about it in 20 seconds, is like the ethos of CraftyKid3D is just curiosity, like that childlike curiosity. And that guided me through everything that I've ever done. And I was just curious about 3D printing and I just have fun. And it turned into this. But I was also curious at one point about pottery. took a pottery class in college, photography. I was cutting wood and doing wood art. You know what I mean? I've always like lived in that follow whatever I'm interested about, and not put any pressure on it, not need it for money. Do my other job. I was a teacher and all of that, and so I could just focus on being curious about all of these interests I had, and that's what I would tell people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you're designing something, I mean, going along what you just said, I've designed a lot of things just for around my house, just random things that may not actually be a need to anybody else, like your bird feeder.
Yeah.
You designed it because it was cool. You weren't like thinking, oh, everyone's going to love this. This is going to be amazing. It was, hey, this is just a random thing that'd be cool to do.
Yeah.
You know, I've printed, I would say almost 90% of what I've printed has been a functional thing that I'm like, oh, this works for me. Maybe it works for other people, but I'm not designing for them right now. I'm just designing for something that I found a need for. You know, whether it's like a little hanger to go on a soffit that is this particular thickness and whatever else, and there's nothing else that exists.
Yeah.
Okay, just, you know.
Yeah, and if you do that enough, and if it's in a niche that really needs it, all of a sudden you can actually sell that thing. And a lot of people, like a lot of designs I've done, it's like, this is really just for me in my house. I don't know how many people have this type of shelf. I'm not going to post this or that.
Right.
But, you know, if you solve a problem that enough people have, all of a sudden you can have a business.
Yeah.
And that's the power of 3D printing. Like, you have manufacturing at home, and then if you can worry about everything else, you can start a 3D printing business really quick.
Literally, like every camera mount in here is 3D printed to fit these stands. The only thing that I've really sold at any real scale was something that I didn't think was a need, but my buddy's like, hey, can you make me a clip that goes on our stage decks that I can put Velcro on to put, skirting on the stage? I'm like, sure. So I'm a Fusion 360 guy. So I sat down in Fusion and kind of designed it and was like, okay, I can print 30 of them in, 10 minutes or whatever it is. Very, very basic, primitive design, but it fits that niche.
Yeah.
And, he's bought thousands of them from me at this point. I'm like,
Crazy.
I didn't know it was a thing, but like you said, your community will tell you, hey, this is what we need. This is what we want.
And your life experience will tell you. You
Yeah.
know, like you knew there was a problem with that, and so you solved it. And a lot of my designs early were like that, where, pots with different types of drain systems and all of that. My niche has really lived in like gaming, dragons, fantasy, book decor, and like plants. And that's kind of, I'm like, I want to expand, but I need to stay in,
but it's worked. So, and it's what you love. So,
exactly. And that's where I always just was passionate about. Like, I was always just a fantasy nerd. You know? And I'm like, so now I like sit back all the time and I'm like, are you telling me, like, if you were to tell me at 10 years old, I can make dragons for a living, you know what I mean? Like, I was playing Skyrim and watching Aragon and living and breathing Lord of the Rings. Like, so this has been the perfect job for me. And I only wish, and I only want to encourage anyone who is like me to take that leap, because if you're a nerd, other people are like you. And if you create a product that fellow nerds like, all of a sudden you're gonna have the best job ever. Just creating nerdy stuff that you love, that other nerds resonate with, and then you're gonna have a community, and it's beautiful.
That's awesome. So I know you've kind of moved away from print farm a little bit. Can you tell me about maybe at your peak, what did your home print farm look like?
Oh my gosh. So I tell people about the peak a lot, because it's what pushed me over the edge of going, I gotta figure something else out, or I gotta move on. And so Bamboo Lab literally had just come out 2 months before I think it was the X1C was their first like flagship printer. I had 20 printers on garage shelf racking in my shop, and they were the slow kind, the Creality, Ender 3s, Ender 5s, all of that. And they always had problems, but I dialed them in. I got a bigger nozzle so I can spit out more filament at a time. It made the print quicker. I eventually got it down to where I can print these bird feeders, especially that took 28 hours to I can print one in like 5 to 6 hours. And so that was a huge leap. And then all of a sudden, Bamboo Lab printers come out. And there was this time, it was Christmas, maybe three or 4 years ago now. And if you have a business, you know what Christmas is like, especially if you have a product and that product is marketed. Christmas is, if you only sold for like 3 months out of the year, you would make 50% of your money, especially as a print farm. So I always tell people as Christmas is approaching, I'm like, start right now. So like list your things right now, because by Christmas, you can have a full-fledged business. And so I had 20 printers running, had just bought 4 more, and then I had Bamboo Labs on the way, and I was sleeping in my shop because I had to wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., take a print off and start a new one because I got orders, a lot of them. And it was like this one Christmas where I just worked my tail off while teaching. And, we made $15,000 on Etsy that month. And that was crazy money. That is crazy money. But I saw how much work goes into it. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to be a millionaire running a print farm or something like that, if that's what you aspire to, you got a lot of work ahead of you, or you got to hire an employee and be really strategic about that and take that, it's hard to hire an employee when not every month is consistent and
Right.
all those different things. So
Right.
I didn't want to hire somebody, especially I live way out there, like someone to come drive to me. I don't want to be responsible for somebody. So we made it work, but that's how it was. It was 20 printers. And then when the new printers come, every one Bamboo Lab machine could replace like 3 of my older ones. I would say 4, but I would say more comfortable like 3 of my older ones. So there was just a big radical shift in how much one person could produce with a handful of these machines and the space it took up. And so that changed everything. And I paid off those 3 printers in the first like 3 weeks of printing and with them. And that was, it's like the best investment ever, to buy something for $1,000 and then make, the money back in a couple weeks. And now that machine is just yours free and clear. Like there's not many manufacturing jobs or tools that can give you that return on investment. So, yeah.
Wow. So you went from 20 printers. Now you're probably like, did you have to like rewire this whole place to make all of this work? I know printers don't take a ton of power necessarily, but it's a fair amount.
They don't take that much power. They take the most power when they're heating up. That's when like a power surge happens. And so you'd be like strategic not to like start 20 printers at the same time on your 15 amp, outlets. But I didn't have to rewire it because my shop actually, I don't know what they were doing in this shop. There's outlets everywhere, high and low, everywhere. It's got its own sub panel. So I got really lucky with my power situation. But some people, you could run 4, 5, 6 printers in a normal room on their outlets, and you're not going to have an issue.
Gotcha.
So it's nice.
During that, maybe the peak time, maybe not the peak time, but what was your biggest challenge, obstacle?
It was definitely staying organized and motivated. Like I realized really quickly, and I learned this in teaching as well, watching certain kids, is that the person who can stay focused the longest on a non-preferred task will win. And that, realizing that early puts everything into context for me. When I'm not having a fun time in a business or, learning something that I never, it's not the interesting part of the business. Sleeping in your shop and taking a print off, hitting reprint, changing out a nozzle, that's not what people see on my social media. They're seeing me so happy, right, holding up this product, showcasing it, seeing the birds, right? It's like daffodils and rainbows. And the reality is there's a lot of moments where they're non-preferred tasks. And if you can stay focused and motivated through those, that's going to make you successful, when you don't give up. And so I think the biggest challenge for me was just like not giving up. And even though I'm in the thick of it right now, trying to see some sort of vision beyond this of what I could do next. So many people I've seen start to get a few orders. They got 3 printers and they just plateau. They don't want to go further. They don't want to take any of that money and reinvest it and, hire a designer or, spend a bunch of time learning design themselves. They're just kind of like content where they are selling, a handful of my products or whatever it is. And to them, I think that's great. Like it's not for everybody, especially, and you'll know very quickly if this is something you want to pursue further or not. So it's not for everybody. But I was never like that. I wanted to like, what is the next step? I think it was because I was friends with quite a few people who I saw go from really small print farm to people are making 6 figures a month. How are they doing this? You know what I mean? Like, why am I sleeping in my shop right now? And these people are, making so much more than me and doing what seems like more fun work and more stress-free work. And that was more on the design side. So that's, it took me to have my second kid. And I remember laying in bed and it was like, I had to be up until midnight because that's when I knew he was going to eat. So I might as well just stay up next to him and be on my computer and figure something else out. So even though I had a print farm, all of that, I was on my computer being like, okay, what is this Patreon thing? How does it work? Uh, how can I get a designer? It's, I need people that are better than me at what I'm doing so that I can focus on what I'm best at, which was just marketing, making videos, and having fun with that, not being bogged down with like, there's designers out there that are so amazing. These jobs that um, are being kind of swallowed up by AI a little bit, or people's first thought when they think of a 3D design model, let me just see what AI tool can do it. There's a lot of people on the back end of that are really talented, that can crank things out really fast with much higher accuracy, which with much more of exactly what you want than AI can, and they are ready to work. There's a lot of people out there wanting work, and the internet is globalized. We might not be here, but the internet is fully globalized. People speak great English all over the world, and they're some of my best friends are in the Philippines.
Nice.
And it's like these people are amazing artists that went to college for this, and they're, how much it costs to live there is a fraction of what it is here. So the United States dollar all of a sudden goes a lot farther, and they make their prices, and and I'm speaking now to like my design team, where I just got to a point where it's like I can design a certain way, but I'm no digital sculptor that can do these incredibly detailed designs in such a short amount of time. Uh, and also, too, I don't know that I can really sit and learn all of this right now with all of these other things that come along with having a 3D printing business. And so that's when I decided I'm going to hire one person to just help me with the design. I'm going to still design on my end and we'll kind of work together. Well, this designer just like blew me away. And that's where it really propelled into this. I could see it now where I can, we can split up our roles and everyone, hire people that are really good in specific skills to help me grow. And that was a big transition that catapulted everything. And that happened with my second kid. And it's funny, it's like every time I have done really well or had this big growth period is every time I have a kid. So yeah, my wife wants a third. But I think
you're not ready to scale that way yet.
I'm not ready to scale up yet. Yeah, exactly.
So you have, I can't even say employees because they're not probably technically employees,
independent contractors.
Yeah, you have a team.
Yeah.
One of the things I've looked at when I've tried to outsource some things is, you look at people from other countries and you're like, okay, well, they charge $5 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever it is. And subconsciously you're like, that's not a lot of money to us.
Yeah.
But in their world, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think, talk to me about that mind shift of you want to pay people what's fair.
Right.
But how do you define what's fair?
Yeah.
And I know this is totally like off topic a little bit, but I think it's an interesting discussion.
I think it's interesting because people who are wanting to start a 3D design business will run into this. And there's a big 3D printing company out there that has a lot of designers on payroll, and they're out of Brazil, right? And I worked with them a little bit, and I got to kind of see the inside of their framework. It's really cheap in Brazil. Like wages aren't really high, but they are tapping into this American market and charging American prices. Meanwhile, their team is, I don't want to say not getting paid well, but they're getting paid fair to where they live.
Right.
And so I saw that firsthand. Then, and to back up a little bit, before I was teaching, I was a creative director. And I think I counted at one point, I had hired 40 different people for various jobs, everything from ghostwriting to video editing, formatters, graphic designers, you name it. I've hired it for this company I was working for. And so I've gotten really exposed to that world of hiring people to work faster, more efficiently. And there are people that are really good at one thing and they want work. They don't want to market and put themselves out there on social
Right.
media. They just want to design stuff, or they just want to be a graphic designer. And so that knowing that going into this, I tried to start so many different businesses with my kids, and all the while I had 3D printing as kind of my fun hobby. Well, then that's when I started looking. I'm like, let me put some of these other skills, hiring people now that I laid to rest because I'm now a teacher. Let me pull those out and see what's out there. I know the sites, Upwork, Fiverr, all these places where I can go and like find some quality people. Let me put some energy into that. And so when I found a designer I thought I wanted to work with, I just took his lead. Like, here's the project. I want it really detailed. I want to be able to edit it myself. I want it to be done within 2 weeks. If this is possible for you, what is your price?
Yep.
And just take their lead. And whenever I've had like a really good time, I like to give them bonuses, and just send them money and just never say no, whatever price. And since then, I've worked with the same person. His prices have gone up 3x on me, and good for him. Like, I've also gone up that amount. You know what I mean? And so I try and stay fair with people. I don't want to negotiate down or go for the cheapest person.
Right.
I've been bitten by that, where you're just like always trying to get the cheapest price or whatever. And I've tried that a couple times and it never works out. It's like, pay people what they're worth. And when they're worth something, like if you want to work with them, you just got to pay that price. But going outside of the United States, it's like, that's something I was initially conflicted on.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are, it's like America, you want to hire people here. Well, every time I try to hire a designer around here in America was like, they wanted a salary. They wanted, health insurance, rightfully so. I get it. Like, we don't have the best health insurance. They wanted all of these things that I couldn't provide at that. I can't, I don't have that much to just hand that out to them. And then also too, there was an attitude shift. There wasn't like, they weren't as like, they didn't have a lot of gratitude. They weren't very thankful for an opportunity. And meanwhile, these other people are like the happiest people I've ever met. And they're fair priced and they just want to work and have fun. And so it wasn't easy to get out of that mind shift of like, well, I'm only going to hire Americans too. Let's see what other people have, in the world, from Canada all the way to Bangladesh, just let's see what other talent is out there. And then you just start to realize like, there's amazing people all over the world. Just talking to this guy in Portugal, has helped me with some web design stuff. This guy's a true professional living on the beach in Portugal, but it's so cheap there. He doesn't have to charge a fortune. But he is this incredibly talented, college educated person who's like a web designer and animator, And so I've just made friends with these people and I've kind of gotten out of that mindset that I've got to hire locally because the internet's globalized.
Yeah.
People watching my videos are all over the world, subscribing all over the world. My designers are all over the world. I don't think so narrowly anymore,
Mhm.
and I don't feel bad about that anymore.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good shift too, because if your market is worldwide,
Mhm.
then why not tap into some of that
Yeah,
for your
exactly.
designs? Because I'm not saying that American designers or whatever can't fulfill that need,
Mhm.
but why not?
Mhm.
Like, why not just, go to all these other places
Yeah.
and see what their perspectives are?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you think being a school teacher prepared you for what you do now? Because I know there's some element of teaching that you're still doing.
Yeah. Well, dude, teachers, here's the thing about teaching, and I didn't quite know this before I got into it. I'll be honest. I got into teaching I think it was like 2019. They were desperate for teachers, desperate. I had not taken a single teaching class in college. Okay, I take that back. I did take a like elementary education and a drama for elementary education class. They were elective. My wife was in, girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, I'm just going to take those with you. And so I thought about teaching one day. I like being around elementary, level students. And they are just like the best, happiest kids. You can't help but be happy in a class full of third graders. You can't help it. They love you. They are interested in everything about your life. And so I would help my mother-in-law, who was a first grade teacher, on field trips and such, and absolutely loved it. So I always kept that in the back pocket. Like, hey, if I don't want to be in the creative field, if I get burnt out, I think I'll go into teaching. Well, they're holding these interviews for teaching jobs, and I was like, I don't have any credential courses done. I haven't even signed up for a credential program. I'm not qualified other than I have a college degree. Let me go interview. They loved me. They gave me my own classroom, got hired on the spot, and all I had to do was promise I'm going to start getting my credential. So I get into teaching, and fast forward, all of a sudden I'm really learning how to be organized. I'm really learning how to set goals and achieve those goals for myself and my students. I'm getting really used to how to actually work. If you're in the creative field and you've only done creative stuff, you don't know what work is like until you're an elementary teacher. You know what I mean? I'm up at 6 o'clock, and if I'm going to work out, I got to work out before then. I'm getting home at 4 p.m. They give me 50 minutes to lesson plan, so I talk about the power of power hours. Power hours are real, where you're like, your phone's somewhere, you don't know where it is. You're focused. How much a person can get done in an hour nowadays, especially with technology that we have, is incredible. And I learned the how to do that as a teacher. And then also how to guide people through, it's like I have a social media community, but when you're a teacher, you have like this is your community.
Yeah.
And you've got to interest them in what you're doing. You've got to guide them and teach them. You've got to hold their attention. And posting social media content's the same thing. And so people that I tell who are struggling on Instagram Reels and all of that, not that I'm some wizard that gets billions of views every time I post, like it ebbs and flows, but plan your script and plan your videos like an elementary essay. Pretend you're in 4th grade. You got to start with a hook. Topic sentence, introduction, a nice body where people are really invested, and then this conclusion with a call to action. I'm realized I'm like writing scripts for my videos while I'm teaching, and I'm like, I'm using the same principles that I teach these kids when they're writing a narrative and then I started to discover that exact formula works with video. It's like, if I told a quick story and a voiceover and it had a strong hook, all of these things get views on TikTok. And so there's a lot of ideas that are universal, but the biggest thing that I take with me from teaching is how to work, how to set goals and accomplish them, how to schedule things, being organized, and then, but most importantly, because I was teaching elementary education, is it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun because, what is fun is engaging, and when you engage, you retain. And so I want people to remember my products. I want them to send it to their partner or send it to their printer and be like, I want this. And, so it's got to be some sort of level of engagement and exactly what they want. So a lot of the concepts overlap, honestly.
What kind of, you were elementary?
3rd and 4th grade elementary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's a great age range because,
Yeah.
I always had 3D printers in the classroom too. So I'm
Nice.
teaching these kids how to design. And next thing you know, I'm posting videos of their designs. And this little girl puts Dwayne The Rock Johnson's head on a chicken and calls it the chalk or whatever she called it, the chicken rock. So, and I post that video and it gets like 2 million views on TikTok. And so it's just like fun. It's just been fun. And 3D printing is also the perfect STEAM tool: science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics. Everything from the beginning, setting up a machine, that's engineering, how it works. And then the design side of the engineering, but you got to use math for millimeter, inches, conversions, how using calipers, right? And then it's like the art of it. Well, what kind of art do we want to make with this design? And the science of how it's melting and how it's cooling at the same time and how temperature works with certain materials,
Yep.
right? And then just obviously it's an amazing emerging technology. So I originally got it because, printers in the classroom and teaching and printing overlapped because it's just an incredibly talented, good way of teaching using a printer because you can apply so many things to it. And, the kids are way more excited when they know after their animal science research project, they get to print their animal that they designed. That's like, forget about it. They love it. And so it overlapped a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a design. So we have one here. Can you walk me through the design process?
So yeah, we do a lot of dragon stuff right now. Now I have a lot of stuff that's not dragons, but like looking at this design, this is a planter I recently came out with. I've got a glow in the dark filament water catch tray. It's a planter. Um, I've got it where it's got these little pegs. Because it's transparent, you can actually see the infill, which is like the inner parts of a print that give it its structure and density. And then here's a model that this is actually support free. So if you know anything about printing, you love support free models. Supports, put it simply, are these little structures that have to grow to support the print as it goes, because printers go like this, one layer at a time up. And so if there's a steep overhang or something, it's printing in midair. So you have to print a support underneath it. Sorry, that's technical. But this is a support-free print. And this is a planter that I made the dragon's mouth open. And so you pour water in here, and this whole body is a chamber. There's little holes in the middle of the pot that slowly let water trickle out and give you a perfect watered plant. And so this is something that like functional. And this is what I always tell people when they're thinking about a design. It's like make something that can be functional, hit a niche, like dragon fans like myself, you know, dragons are more in than ever. And maybe can play on like some sort of someone's passion or something, right? Like people are really passionate about plants. They might also love fantasy, and that's, you know, something they're passionate about. And then it gives you a reason to print because it's functional.
Yeah.
And can water a plant better than you can. So yeah, that's just one example. And I printed this in multicolor, and this is a big leap in 3D printing right now is multicolor printing. And so we have like a matte base with this shiny outside, right? That's a dual color. And then, so this is printed all at one time. It's not pieced together, but there's nozzles with different filaments that come in and can print multiple colors on one print without, you know, having to switch anything.
So that one in particular is that just 2 colors technically?
This, yeah, the base is technically, well, actually 3, because the eyes, little
Okay.
tiny bit of like lime green in the eyes, and then and then 2 colors for the base and the dragon.
Cool. And you didn't paint that or do anything to it. That is all.
Yeah, this is exactly how it comes out of the machine.
Nice.
And no support, so it comes right off the build plate just like this.
And then tell me about what filaments you used for that. You don't have to say specific brands.
Oh,
but just,
I don't.
Like,
honestly, I printed this one a while ago, so I don't even remember the brands. A lot of the brands I've been using, I think this is like an Amelin glow in the dark, and this is like a silk red to black, I think it is. And these are dual color extrusions. So on the filament, half of it is black, half of it would be red. And then as it prints, it gives you this cool effect where as you spin it, you know, it'll change colors. And then on the inside is this matte.
And those are PLA?
Yeah, all PLA.
All PLA. Okay.
And it, because it's an indoor planter, PLA is fine. You know, outdoor, especially if you're like in a hot desert sun, you're gonna want to use PETG.
Yeah.
There's all these different filaments and technologies that are different for different applications.
Do you have to do so? You design this to have water go inside. Do you have to do anything differently if there's water? Like it's not gonna. You don't have to adjust the infill or kind of do anything abnormal.
No, I mean you want to at least. I tell people you want to have 3 walls and at least 5% infill.
Yeah.
But like having a few extra walls, and you think of walls as like the walls in your house. How many walls do you want? The stronger it is. And so yeah, at least 3 walls, and that keeps, in all of my tests, pretty watertight. And the new printers have helped with this because their layers are so perfect. Back in the day, the imperfect layers, all that stuff, create little gaps, and you have water leaking everywhere. So a lot of people think PLA is not watertight. It is nowadays because of how good the printers are.
Okay. Yeah, I learned, going back to the support free, I learned very early on when I was designing a lot of the things that I was using, because a lot of things I was using didn't need to withstand a lot of weight, but definitely orientation matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it has supports. Like certain things I made, you needed supports for. Mm-hmm. But you print it upright and it's not going to be very secure. You print it sideways and it's much more secure depending on what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
It was definitely a big learning process for me. What are you designing in mostly these days? I know you have a team as well.
So I've been using Shaper 3D.
Okay.
And than Nomad Sculpt on my iPad. Nomad Sculpt's a great sculpting program. And you think of design like there's CAD, which is very geometrical, perfect. You need perfect dimensions. And there's sculpting, where it's like you are digitally sculpting. There's no, you're not worrying too much about size and dimension as much. And so I do a little bit of both. And but most of our work is actually done in Blender now.
Okay.
Blender, yeah. It's the hardest program to learn, but it's free, open, and you can kind of do both CAD and sculpting in it. And so it's definitely, if you have someone that's a master in Blender, you can do quite a bit of
nice. Tell me about, so you have 2 kids at home. Are your kids involved in the creative print process?
Yeah. So before it was like a big deal for, not showing your kids on social media. There was a time in the earlier days of TikTok, everyone was posting whatever.
Yeah.
No one was careful. There wasn't AI detecting where someone lives based on a picture. Everyone was just posting whatever. And so, oh my gosh, I was posting my kids all the time. And I would give my kid a little voice, like a voiceover voice. And so, I wasn't making money off these TikToks. I wasn't necessarily using it to sell a product. I wasn't like being deceitful in marketing with these cute kids or anything. It was just, we were just having fun. And so that was, anyone who followed me in the early days knows my kids. And even to this day, I did a sponsored post for Bamboo Lab where I made the Zelda's Master Sword, and my 4-year-old who's Zelda obsessed, gets it and it's light up and he goes crazy. And so, yeah, I love to involve them. They love it. They think daddy can make anything, and which makes it hard when I'm like, I cannot make that. I'm sorry. I will buy that for you. But yeah, they're really involved and they want to do it one day. They're excited to have their little print shops, and I'm excited to help them with it because it's just, if you can be successful doing it, it's so fun.
Yeah. I have a 3-year-old at home. He'll be 4 in a couple of days. But when I first got my printers, we were looking at all the models and going through printables and Thingiverse and like looking at everything. And I'm like, what do you want to make? And he's like, an elephant kangaroo. I'm like,
oh boy.
Okay, well,
I don't know if that's been designed.
And I'm not really the designer for that. So I don't know that we're going to go that route, but
yeah. Oh, I know all about it.
What's a mistake that you made early on that still kind of makes you cringe to this day?
Oh maybe? My God. You're going to make me talk about it.
I do think it is important.
Yeah. There's been a lot. And it's, you kind of have to roll with the punches, realize that you've messed up. If someone's mad at you on social media or if people are coming at you, you got to know that you did wrong and just try and be better. And so one mistake I made early on was, mind you, 3D printing has changed a lot. People stealing models and copyright protections. Back in the day, the 3D printing community didn't care at all about anyone's copyright. They're making whatever, their favorite characters. It was just fan art. It was emerging. No one was, there wasn't like no one's mass producing this stuff. No one had massive print farms because that was just too much of a headache. They always broke down, So everyone's just printing stuff for their house, So like Pokemon was huge. I love Pokemon. Used to, right? I'm not like a Pokemon collector nowadays, but back then it's super nostalgic for me, right? Like playing Pokemon Yellow on my Game Boy, all of that. And so I had this idea right at the very beginning. What if I designed a Pokemon, Game Boy cartridge, but made it huge and like a wall mount, and then printed the graphic in like holographic sticker paper and stuck it on the front. I did that, posted a video. It blew up to a point where it was like, am I going to get a cease and desist, from Pokemon and Nintendo, which notoriously you don't want to mess with. And so I eventually stopped that, but it was doing well and everyone wanted to print it and get it. But I got to a point where I'm like, I had to learn a lot about copyright protection. And especially if you're going to be like posting social media content and being out there. Listen, Etsy's full of Pokemon stuff. Like, it's everywhere. You're probably a small fish in a big pond. And I have friends that still do Pokemon stuff to this day, and I can't like shun them. I get it. It's just copyright stuff is off the table for me, and you should be aware of that when you're like, well, everyone loves Family Guy. I'm just going to print Family Guy characters or whatever it is, it's like, you need to relax. You probably shouldn't print Star Wars stuff. Like Disney won't mess around. And so, but back in the day, it was like, there's so much less original designs and everyone just making nostalgic stuff that was copyright. And so that's where my mind went. I was like, oh, I'll do Pokemon too. I got a bunch of other friends who are doing Pokemon stuff. And yeah, so I had to move away from that. But it was something I was known for. And I wish I wasn't known for doing this Pokemon thing, because like I don't do anything related to that anymore. And it's like being known for a copyright deal, and I don't want to smoke on that.
We can cut this part out if you
Yeah.
want to, but in general, just
Mhm.
because I'm curious, did you ever actually get anything?
No, I never
Okay.
got a cease and desist.
Okay.
I never have been told to stop printing something. Yeah, no, I never did. And I was honestly surprised, because like these videos were getting millions of views. People were tagging Nintendo. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute, this is not good. And
Yeah.
then there's an Etsy shop attached to it. And so this season rose and fell very quickly, because I realized that it could, go south. And so I didn't want to deal with that.
I think there is a lot. And as I have looked at whether it's designs for me or designs I want to, buy or print for somebody else or whatever, like sports teams and characters and all that kind of stuff, like it's kind of open season.
Yeah.
And it's a slippery slope, because you don't know what is going to catch people's attention. And how do you, I know your stuff is really original work.
Yeah.
But how do you think that people are handling that in general?
Well, what's happening right now is their AI is really helping copyright protection quite a bit, as well as hurting it.
Sure.
Because like you can rip off anything using AI. So it's really hurting it, but then it's also helping these law firms and different people auto detect stuff and get things taken down. And so it's kind of an interesting point where there's never been a time where more stuff is getting stolen and ripped off. I can just take a picture of this favorite character from that movie, put it into an AI 3D modeler, and print that character.
Right.
And then just list it and sell it. But on the back end of that studio, whoever owns the copyright to that, now has these AI tools to detect their stuff out there and get it taken down. So I've been seeing a lot of like entire Patreons and subscription businesses get completely shut down because they are centered around something Nintendo or Disney. And so, yeah, it's something you want to steer away from, but it's sort of at the core of 3D printing is like fan art, make yourself an Iron Man suit, all of that thing. So I stay out of the conversation. I try and keep my opinion out of it. Make whatever it is you want to make. Just know, when you go to start a real business with it, there could be consequences, or there might not be.
Right.
You might never get a cease and desist. But it's like, I would always try and tell people, think creatively, think independently, make your own stuff, because it's more rewarding that way anyways. You're not profiting off of just people's love for this other thing that you never created in the first place.
Or if you're going to make stuff, like make it for yourself and not
exactly.
as a business entity.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you see the 3D model space, whether it's the design or the actual printing of it, getting overly saturated?
Yeah, it is getting overly saturated more than ever, especially with the influx of AI models. You have one person who doesn't know anything about design or knows very little be able to spit out 100 products a day. That makes it very interesting. To me, it just raises the bar. Like, I got to be more innovative. I got to do things an AI cannot do. I got to go down to a level of detail. I got to market it better. And so, but it is harder to get into the game now than ever before. And this is where I've talked about how the product isn't necessarily as important as you building a community and marketing that product, because products are easier than ever to get made, whether AI does it or a designer does it for you, or you watch a YouTube video and now you can do it because the programs are getting so much better to design stuff. So the product isn't necessarily the hardest part. The idea and the marketing is. And so the space is really crowded, especially, I love Bamboo Lab, but they've got Maker World, which is like this free website that's sort of like Thingiverse, where everything is free. And I feel like that's been the cornerstone of 3D printing in the beginning, was files were notoriously free. and everything's open source. The printers are open source. Well, now the printers are closed source, and now people are spending so much time modeling the most innovative, coolest stuff that they deserve to get paid for it. Whether it's $3, $4, $5, I've paid $20 for a model. Worth it. I mean, great, cool stuff. And so it is crowded in the sense that everyone wants everything to still be free. And that is where you can sort of leverage like commercial license and stuff like that, where, for $15, you can get all of my models and have the commercial license to sell the prints and get a community and access to myself and whoever in the community that's really great with helping designers and helping print farms, and troubleshooting. And so that's a really good deal that's still manageable. You sell one product, you make your money for the month, on like a subscription like mine. And so I'm glad I went the route I did. If I was just a designer trying to sell models without having a subscription platform or anything like that behind me, that's much more difficult, because I've seen individual model sales really sort of go down over the past couple of years. It was a lot easier even 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, on like CraftyKid3D or whatever, it's like there's a number of things that I've downloaded and printed off of Printables or wherever else, Maker World, and it's like I would have paid $5 for it.
Yeah.
But I feel like the sales market is harder to find sometimes. If you have the Maker World platform, like it's easy to just search for stuff on there.
Yeah.
And I think they could monetize that very easily.
Yeah.
If they wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. And full disclosure, like Bamboo Labs is my main sponsor, and that's only been in like the past 6 months, but I've been using them for years, and I just love their machines. And, there's the argument. It's like, are they helping the community or hurting the community by making all of this free? I was helping somebody set up their 3D printer the other day, and they didn't know that you even do anything on a computer. All they've ever done is on their phone with Bamboo Lab, click print, sends it to their printer from their phone. But I was looking at the models, it's only Maker World models.
Right.
And so it's like, wow, they don't even know what CraftyKid3D is, or all these other websites where you can get all these amazing models and there's millions of them. They only know what's available to them. And so it's kind of an interesting thing where we'll see if they start allowing designers to sell individual models for a price rather than just have to be free. They've already started where you can subscribe on Maker World to get a commercial license. So that could be your platform.
Okay, good.
So they are giving more help to these designers, because the designers are drowning. And right now, you come out with a really good product, expect 5 copies of that product to be done within a month from designers all over that are going to undercut you. It's probably not going to be as good of a design. It might even be copied with AI. I had a recent video go, I don't want to say viral. It was going viral before I deleted it, because I was like, I don't really want to be known for this 3D printing rant. But somebody took a picture of my model. Like, they didn't take a picture themselves. They just screenshotted a picture of the product, put it into an AI image to 3D, STL generator, generated the product where it looks like my product. It is like, I recognize it right away that is my model, but there's something different about it. It was less textured. It was like, like, how did they do this? Well, it's because they actually 3D, AI generated it. And because they AI generated it, they now own it. You know what I mean? And it was like, wow, this is an interesting, this just happened a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, this is uncharted territory for me. Somebody takes a picture of my model, generates it. The generators are getting better. And now they have the same product as me, a little different, but they now own it and they can now sell it. Luckily, I have friends, and that model got taken down, and it, I'll continue to go after people like that, that just, because this is, that's really bad for the community, and that's going to hurt the designers more. Like, I've heard from so many people that used to be designers that have completely shifted fields because they don't want to keep up with AI and or get their models instantly stolen and resold somewhere else. Even if it wasn't generated, just literally somebody can rip the model and post it somewhere else. And
how do you compete with that as a designer? Like if you're selling your models, your design files, how do you prevent people from just taking that file and uploading it somewhere
That's
else?
the hard question, and I'm currently figuring that out. So I'm figuring that out right now, where now I have access to a law firm that does this, where they just, you give them links to your products and they will scan a bunch of different sites to get those models
Okay.
taken down if they're not following certain guidelines. So those companies are coming, but they're expensive.
Yeah.
And, if you have a couple $1,000s to spare every month to have this law firm that's always running checks for you, which not a lot of people do, especially when they're just starting, luckily I've got friends that, are helping me with that. So I don't have to like pay that amount, but that's how we're combating it. And then also, this is also the importance of having a community and making videos. Having, somebody sees one of my models, they might recognize it. That's a CraftyKid3D model.
Mhm.
They've seen the video,
Right.
you know? Um, and so I get that sent to me all the time. Hey, this person's selling your every day, every single day. Someone is just listed your product on Etsy or wherever, Maker World, and luckily it's recognizable enough that people will reach out to me and tell me, and I can get it taken down. But there's a lot of people, a lot of designers who don't have these social media followings that created something that did, maybe it's their first model that caught fire, but on social media, they are a nobody. No one knows this person, their designer. They might not even have a social media presence. And those are the people that are most vulnerable because they get ripped off, and then
They may not even know they get ripped off.
yeah, or whoever rips them off is bigger, and they make more money, and all of a sudden it looks like the original designer actually ripped them off
Right.
because the other person's bigger than them. So that's challenging. So that's also the importance of filming and documenting everything and posting videos of your products so that there's some sort of trace.
Well, and I think, it's important, I mean, from an outsider perspective, to make your designs in a way that you can tell they're yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have your take on them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, my logo's on the bottom or what. It doesn't have to be like that blatant, because I feel like people catch on to that and take it off. But I think there are certain ways you can do that without making it really
totally
easily changeable on the other side.
Especially if you're like really honed into one niche, like I've gotten really into book stuff recently, and so I'm kind of known for that, and like these certain dragon emerging heads, and these dragon book holders, and all these different types of prints. It's gotten more recognizable, which really helps.
That's cool. So if someone wants to really succeed in 3D printing today, whether it's from a design standpoint, print farm standpoint, marketing, what do you think are some important skills that they need to be good at? I know you talked about it a little bit, but
I talked about it, and I mean, that's the formula is just learn how to use your 3D printer, learn how to make videos, and try and solve a problem around you. And then when you want to get serious with the design, I tell people a good design seems to have a few elements. Some sort of functionality. Give someone a reason to print it. That helps. If it's just purely art or a fidget toy or something, unless it's really awesome, it might not get printed. So functionality, having some sort of functionality is great. Next, tap into someone's nostalgia. If it's, they loved whatever show growing up, create something around it. Don't copyright, but like you can bring it up that you were inspired by that. And then, tap into someone's passion, and that passion, nostalgia, they're different because like I'm nostalgic about Pokemon. I'm not passionate about Pokemon nowadays. You know what I mean? But I'm passionate about, Game of Thrones or whatever it is. And I love these dragons. And so those are totally different things, and I've created models for each of those categories. People who are really nostalgic about, let's say Pokemon versus people who are really passionate about the fantasy genre. And then niche down. So like functionality or nostalgia and passion, and put that into the book niche, right? People are really passionate about books, so that's kind of why I went towards books. I love books too. Don't have as much time to read them nowadays, but the people who subscribe to me and are buying my models sure are avid readers in the fantasy genre. So niche down and try and think of some of those elements of functionality and passion. And my goodness, there are so many designs getting pumped out, especially by AI. that are not detailed. Like, if you want to stand out, make a really detailed model. You know, spend the extra hours going through it to like add the texture and all of these things, because these printers can do amazing, amazing detail, and people aren't tapping into it. So there's just so much like little toys and accessories and all this stuff that's just like not that detailed when they're capable of so much more. And so you could really stand out easy right now if you just have really detailed models that maybe serve a purpose or cater to someone's interest.
And I think if you can't do a model that is as detailed and textured as this,
Yeah.
build what you want and then hire a designer
Yeah.
to take it to the next level.
Yeah. And that's what we did in the beginning. And that's a great idea, because the designer will charge way less. If they don't have to make the whole structure of
Right.
it, you know, they're just adding texture and a lot of fine detail. That's cake. You know, that's so easy for them to get their pen out and sculpt on it. Yeah, it's a good idea.
But I think that really, you know, I can do very basic models. Like, obviously, I'm living more in a CAD world, not in a sculpting world.
Right.
But I could very easily take, you know, a simple CAD design and say, hey, make this, you know, give this tree some texture or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And it's a pretty low barrier to entry when you get to that point to have someone else, you know, support the designers too.
Right. Totally.
Where do you think the 3D printing world is heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I don't have any idea. Honestly, if the last 5 years taught me anything about 3D printing, it's that we don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. It's getting crazy. Multicolor printing is getting easier and faster. We're figuring that out, going multi-nozzle. There's a bunch of technical stuff, but that's getting faster. Right now, multicolor printing takes a lot longer for each print. It's getting much better. So we're going to have faster multicolor printing. I think we're going to have more materials. So more materials are coming out all the time. It's not just PLA anymore. I have friends printing their own shoes. You know, when they need shoes, they just print a new pair, because the shoe material that's coming out is going to be huge. And so there's been this, and that's just on the consumer side. Then there's the professional side, where they've printed parts and organs on the medical side of things. And those printers are obviously way different, but like that, we're going to see a huge jump into printing food, fish, steak. I've seen it all get printed. We're printing houses, which is how they think we're going to build colonies on the moon, where we just attach AI 3D printers onto rockets and ship them off, and they gather up moon dust, create concrete, put into this massive nozzle, and print domes. So when we get to the moon, the colony's already been printed. And then there's the consumer side of stuff. And then there's the medical, where we're printing organs, all of that. So printing as a whole, I can only speak to the consumer, because that consumer side is what I know. I'm making dragons here, not attaching them to spaceships. But I think the consumer side is going to get faster. It's going to get more reliable and better multicolor printing. And I think printers are going to start getting we're going to get some bigger ones. And a lot of them are smaller now. And we've seen a couple of companies tap into like the really big stuff where you can print a chair. I think some better, larger printers are coming at a cheaper price. But it's really hard to say, honestly, because every 5 years it's like huge boom. And so I don't know.
Things we didn't even think about,
Right.
like just
Yeah.
So right now, multicolor printing, because I haven't stayed in touch with it as much, are they still like, we'll use Bamboo Labs as the example, because that's the only one I know, frankly. AMSs are still a thing. Are they using single nozzles or multi nozzles?
So Bamboo Lab just came out with a multicolor 3D printer.
Okay.
Sorry, not a multicolor, multi-head 3D printer.
Got it.
So the difference is multicolor printing right now is you have an AMS, and for those that don't know, it's an automated, I can't remember,
materials system or something. Yeah.
And you got 4 colors, and it's going to run the filament and whatever layer needs to be that color, then backtrack it, then bring in the new one, and then it's got to spit out the waste and then start a new print, start the new color. And it's really time consuming, pulling each color one at a time, because you have one nozzle. Well, now the new thing, Snapmaker just came out with a new printer that does it, and a lot of Prusa has one as well, where it's like, instead of having one nozzle and switching out the color, let's have 4 nozzles, that stay back, and they're all connected to a color. So that nozzle comes out, prints, goes and docks, the next one comes out. So there's no waste. You're not having to purge old filament through the nozzle to clear the color, and it's way faster. So that is, there's been a big boom that's just happened right now with that. Snapmaker just came out with one, like I said, and it was like a wildly successful Kickstarter for them, and it's $1,000. So it's like they've hit a really good price point. I think we're going to see a lot more of that from a lot of other companies, and that's going to become sort of the standard.
So like this guy was AMS?
AMS on my Bamboo Lab A1, which is kind of my go-to printer. It's not even the most expensive one. I've got printers in the shop that are $2,500. I recommend everyone just get a Bamboo Lab A1, $400, and that's with the AMS system, because the AMS is really reliable. And yes, it takes a long time. It's not a multi-head printer, but I think those are coming. And we can be patient. And this is, yeah, this is just done with a like a $400 printer. And it took a while because of all the multicolor layers and having to switch colors every layer. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the longest print I did a dinosaur head in like the multicolor, color changing like this. And I think it was like 18 hours. That was my longest one. What is your longest print been?
I've done 4-day prints.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had a 7-day print fail on like day 6. But back in the day, printers used to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I've had printers with massive build plates. I just got rid of a printer that prints at a 45-degree angle on a treadmill and infinitely long prints. So there's a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, no, I've done 4-day, 5-day stuff.
Even the 18-hour one like stresses me out because I'm like, yeah, I feel like I have to watch the whole time, even though like there's nothing I can do about it.
What's nice is the printers nowadays have cameras. You can tap into your phone.
Yes.
Back in the day, there wasn't even like remote shut off. You would leave your printer on and then go to bed and then come out and see what happened.
There's spaghetti everywhere.
There's filament everywhere. I've had a printer catch on fire. Like like the jump we've had in the last 5 years is, I almost dislike people who start printing and they've only had a Bamboo Lab. I'm like,
I know.
You don't know how bad it used to be. And I feel like an old timer is like, we used to have to walk in the snow to get to school. Yeah, that's how it is now.
Do you think in the 3D printing world, we are still early on, or do you think we've kind of passed the gold rush stage?
I think printing in other areas like the medical and with the homes and like just using additive manufacturing and this idea of a nozzle with a computer program that's guiding its direction, I think there's a lot of room to grow there, and we're kind of at the beginning on that stage. As for the consumer side, I think we've had our iPhone moment, and now there's going to be some like consistent getting better at what we've done, but we've hit this point where it's like, it's pretty advanced. But I don't know, this video can come back and haunt me in 5 years, and it's like the printers are just magically doing things in 30 minutes, but yeah.
So what's next for you?
Or
do you even know what's next for you?
I don't know what's next. I want to grow. I want to grow in this area. I want to be better serving to my community. I want to create more like educational content for them and teach them what I know on the print farm. So many people right now I'm seeing are getting a printer, subscribing to me, they want to start a print shop, but they don't really know anything else other than they've unboxed their printer. They get it. They see how it prints. They've never had to fix it yet. And they just love books, or they love dragons. They love plants, and they want to figure out how to go, take that step into making this a business. And there's a lot to learn. It seems simple, but it's a lot. And so I think I can help people do that. And so I've been like teetering around with like, should I make a course? It's like course kind of has a negative connotation nowadays. They've gotten really scammy over the years. Mine wouldn't be that way. So if I did it, I'd want to do it the right way. Do I start a school community, which is more like it's kind of if you've ever heard of school, SKOOL. I don't have one, but there's a lot of that community is growing where it's like a subscription platform, but it's more like classroom focused, and the creator of it's like uploading videos, and then it's kind of like a Facebook group essentially of people, everyone who's in there. So that interests me. But then also too, like I'm really enjoying creating websites and different stuff. So I'm creating stlworld.com right now, which is the first time I've actually talked about it. And that is just a better aggregator of 3D models. Right now, there's not a very good search aggregator of models. You got to go to Cults3D, you got to go to Thingiverse, you got to go to Maker World, Things, and I just want a good search engine that gives all of these together. So I've been working with these companies, getting their APIs together so that I can host all of the models on one platform. You can toggle between free and paid stuff. If you're a new designer, one of the features is you can put your link in, and so your design goes at the top and it says sponsored. And that's been a real struggle for new designers. Like, how do you get views and downloads noticed if you're not making videos and content? There's a big divide there. So giving an opportunity for those people to actually be on the top of a search result, kind of like how Google does, you can like sponsor your URL and all of that. So I'm working on that, and we're working out the kinks, and that's coming soon. But really, I just want to create more models with more people and inspire more people to be in 3D printing and figure out if you're the person that this would be good for. Because if you are and you're not trying to do it, at least on the side as a side hustle or whatever, I think you could be missing out. One, on a lot of fun, a good community, but money.
And it's a pretty low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Like, I bought a printer just for fun. And, I kind of goes in waves. I'll use it a lot and then I won't use it for a while, but you never know when that desire to make that particular thing is going to come about.
Yeah. And this is what I can't believe, is that there are people in their homes right now without a 3D printer. Like, I actually can't believe that, because I'm like, what do you mean something breaks a handle, and like, you can't just be like, I can print a new one? That's crazy. I've been doing that for so many years now that I'm like, I can't even imagine. Or let's say you have this, how many times have you been in the shower? I got a shower notebook now, because I'm like, all my ideas are coming right now and I got to write them down. It's not a good sight, but I'm in the shower with a notebook. And because it's like, when you have that really innovative, creative idea, like an inventor, and you think of something, you have no way to make that. Like, that's why I'm like, I got to immediately like start designing and print it and make a prototype. And that is crazy to the older generation, because prototyping used to be like, you had to spend a ton of money. You had to make sure the design is right. You had to send it overseas maybe for prototyping. It's got to inject molded. You got to carve wood or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now it's like you can go from idea to design to printing it in 2 days or less. And all of a sudden you're like, you can make a whole product out of this.
One of the first things I actually made with my 3D printer was for my shower.
Oh, yeah.
We have like a little shower niche, or is it a niche? What's it called? Anyway,
like a shower shelf.
Yeah, shower shelf. So it's got 2 levels, and the top level, there's a, I don't know, 3-inch like shelf, right? And I have 2 heads in the shower. Like, there's one mounted, you can pull the other one down. Well, I wanted to be able to put the other one somewhere else and use both of them. So I 3D printed something that slid onto this shelf.
Perfect.
And that you could mount the other head into.
Yeah.
It's the simplest thing.
Yeah. Dude, I printed a whole shower head.
Really?
I printed a whole shower head. And
screws on and everything?
Yeah. Like, it goes on. I used plumber's tape and everything, and it literally never leaked, and it always worked. And it was this massive thin waterfall. So it was like this waterfall coming down. So if you ever wanted to feel like you're in the jungle, you just go under the 3D printed head. I thought for sure the PLA would like break down or melt over time. Never had an issue, never warped. It worked perfectly until my wife was like, we don't need this anymore. I printed it in silver. It looked right, but yeah.
If you could design anything, no limits, no market constraints, what would you want to build?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I'm designing most of the things I want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at a point now where if I can dream it and it makes sense on paper to actually print it, like, it's not going to cost $300 for someone to print, I'll get it designed. I really want like a better like Jarvis type system for my shop, where it's like, I'm talking to something and we're like, it's scheduling things. I know that's very like AI focused, and you can buy these, Alexa docs and all of that kind of thing. But I kind of want some sort of like better designed, program that is like at my workstation with me with lights and all of that. I don't know. It's more of like automation is where my mind goes. less of like what my community would actually like. But that's personal. Of course, I would love an Iron Man suit. I just haven't printed one yet, and I know what it takes to do that. So I'm like, maybe I won't. But yeah, I'm pretty much printing in, anything I can dream up. I'm still at a place right now where I'm printing and designing what I want and not just trying to appease to a community. Every time I've tried to do that, where I'm like, I'll make what they want.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm not having fun, and then I'm not motivated. And so
it's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable when it's like that. And so I'm trying to, just live in what I like, and, the community will find you.
Yeah. All right. Couple rapid fire questions before we close.
Okay.
Favorite filament?
Oh, G-Tech.
G-Tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I don't know if it's G-Tech or G-Tech. It's G-E-E-E Tech. Yeah, I've always loved their filament. Behind is a close second is Bamboo Lab filament.
Okay.
They're a sponsor. I should probably say that.
Any particular like model of the filament? Like you're a big PLA guy.
Yeah.
Just because it's
okay.
the most.
Okay. So G-Tech for silk filament.
Okay.
Best golds, best dual color transition filament. Bamboo Lab for like other silk, but also like their basic filament is really good and all of their colors. Polymaker for their matte filaments. And then I like JO or even Bamboo Lab for Sparkle Black.
Okay.
I love sparkle filaments because they actually hide the layer lines really well. And so like printing in like granite or sparkle black or sparkle blue and stuff, your eyes don't go to the layer lines anymore. They actually go to like the glitter and stuff. So it really hides a lot of the flaws that 3D printers give, seeing those layer lines.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it wasn't rapid.
No, it's fine. Maybe this isn't a great question, but most overrated print.
Most overrated print. I can get real in trouble. I could upset the whole printing community.
Benchy.
No, that is a perfect print. As much as I'd be like, yeah, Benchy's overrated. No, it's got like overhangs.
Yeah.
And Benchy's great. There are better versions of the Benchy now, though.
Sure.
Like everyone's still printing the Benchy. I'm like, there's a lot of like calibration prints that are much better.
Yeah.
I would say the articulated stuff, the articulated dragons and stuff like that. Now I have friends doing it. I've recently came out with an articulated dragon that a lot of people loved. A lot of people are like, why are you designing this? It's everywhere. I had my own take on it. But yeah, definitely the dragons are a bit overdone right now, and just 3D printed articulating animals in general are overdone. It's what everyone goes to, but they still sell well. So can I say something is overrated if it's making people money? I don't know.
I think with the articulated stuff, my wife was a school teacher also, and I would print a lot of the articulated stuff for her class. And I think it's cool from a model standpoint because it's like, oh wow, you can print that in place, and it's all articulated. It's cool, but like, why is an elephant articulated?
Right.
It's not naturally articulated, so why do we need to make it articulated?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, we're articulating everything.
Yeah.
I even printed an articulated Benchy train. It was a train of, it was ridiculous. And I'm like, what am I doing,
Just because we can.
Yeah.
One tool you couldn't live without.
That's a good one. Probably my glues. Oh, no. Okay, so it's not a tool. It's a material. Everyone knows that I use this a lot, and I've been using it more, but it's called Rub and Buff. It's a metallic wax that you can brush onto a print to make it look like aged bronze or copper, gold, silver. And it literally just makes things look so much more natural and not 3D printed. And, you kind of get rid of that plastic look, and all of a sudden things look metal. So I love Rub and Buff. As for a tool in 3D printing, I love myself the No Clogger tool.
Okay.
It's this long rod that is perfectly the size of the top of like a hot end where the filament goes. So anytime you have a clog, rather than like pulling it out and replacing a nozzle and doing all that, you can clear it with the No Clogger and just like jam it into your nozzle. Filament gets pushed out. I clear a lot of clogs.
Nice.
That machine, that tool.
Late night printing or early morning troubleshooting?
Oh man, late night printing all the way.
Yeah.
That's how it started. teaching, printing at night. I still am kind of in that habit.
One thing you printed that should not have worked, but it did.
Oh man.
Whether physically it didn't work or, you know, you didn't think it would sell and it sold a bunch.
Oh man. Probably those bird feeders.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I've come out with a lot of models and I'm thinking, but those bird feeders, you know, look, there just wasn't something out there like that, really. You know, and now there's these bird buddies and all these AI camera bird feeder stuff. But yeah, those I didn't think would work at all. Bird community showed me otherwise.
All right. So thank you for being here today. Tell the viewers about where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You could, if you're a Patreon person, you can find me on Patreon at CraftyKid3D. I have my models now on Thangs. I've got individual purchase models on Colts 3D. Now, if you're not into 3D printing or you're just getting into it, these might be sites you're not aware of. But yeah, I'm on Colts 3D, Thangs, Patreon. I've listed some of the models on Etsy, and I'm on one more, My Mini Factory. Yes, 5 places. So you can find me all over. But yeah, follow me, connect on social media. Instagram seems to be working the best for me right now. So yeah, follow me there.
Nice. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Stories that shape our towns, leaders, builders, dreamers, changing lives around its hometown.